I felt like it was one of the worst things I'd ever seen.
The concern is that most of the birds that are dying are adults.
All of us shed tears.
Each year, the Swainson's hawks journey from Canada to Argentina and back. But one year, approximately 20,000 didn't complete the flight. There's a killer on the loose in Argentina. And these people are out to catch it before it kills again. They are the wildlife detectives, and this is one of their stories. Brian Woodbridge, a biologist with the United States Department of Agriculture's Forest Service, doesn't like what he doesn't see. Every April, the Swainson's hawk returns to the Butte Valley in Northern California from Argentina. And every April, Woodbridge sees fewer.
Sí, ese tema de los dormideros también es interesante para...
Agustin Lanuse farms this land in La Pampa, Argentina. To him, the Swainson's is Aguilucho langostaro, the hawk that eats the grasshopper. Wildlife biologists estimate that the Swainson's hawk's population declined by 90% since the late 40s in California and noted a similar trend in western Canada. Woodbridge knows the hawks do pretty well in North America. Can he trace their decline to their southern range? North American wildlife biologists don't know what happens to the 450,000 Swainsons when they leave North America. Woodbridge decides to go to Argentina to find out. To his horror, he finds more than 700 dead hawks on a single farm, and the mystery begins. Named after an English naturalist, Swainson's hawks live near open land, the topography you find in the northwestern United States and Canada, and in the central region of Argentina, known as the Pampas. The birds follow the farmer's plow as it works the field, kicking up a steady diet of insects. They also find prey as they soar in the warm summer thermals that lift them high above the fields. When autumn cools the air in North America, they head for South America for summer all over again. They fly through Canada, the United States, and Mexico, across Central America, through Colombia, Brazil, and Bolivia, before settling in the Pampas of Argentina, one of the longest journeys in the sky. But for those who study the bird in North America, including Woodbridge's colleague Mark Bayshard, what happens when the hawks leave North America is a mystery.
It was a complete black box. As soon as the birds left North America, we knew they went to Argentina, but where they went in Argentina, how they got there, what they did, we had no
Argentine rural culture.
Lógicamente, sí, antes el sistema de producción era
In the past,
muy
this
ganadero
land was
y
used as
con
natural
pasturas
pasture for
naturales,
cattle. And when
y al
agriculture was
introducirse la
introduced,
agricultura,
the
con
big
la
companies
llegada de las
arrived
grandes
and
compañías
technology increased.
y
And of
con la
course,
ayuda del
the
clima,
use of
por supuesto,
agrochemicals intensified.
se empezó a incorporar tecnología y a intensificar el uso de agroquímicos, ¿no?
The biggest problem the Swainson's researchers face is how to track the hawks over a 14,000-mile annual migration. The traditional method of banding birds to track their whereabouts seldom worked over such a long trip.
We've been banding birds in North America for, well, 50 years at least, putting aluminum leg bands on birds, hoping that when they go to their wintering grounds on migration, someone will pick up a dead bird and alert us in the United States so we know anyway where they went.
227.
In 50 years, I think we had 20 recoveries of dead birds from Argentina.
A new technology called radio telemetry gives Woodbridge and Bayshard an idea. Woodbridge traps 2 hawks and equips them with radios. Every 3 or 4 days, the radios send a signal to a satellite. The satellite, in turn, relays the location of the hawk's migratory flight to Earth. But to trap the hawks, they need an accomplice. Woodbridge rescued Hooter from a car accident a few years ago. No longer able to fly, Hooter now works for the United States Department of Agriculture's Forest Service.
Hooter is a great horned owl, and we use Hooter as a decoy or a lure. He's tethered to a small stump near a occupied nest of a Swainson's hawk, and when the adult hawks see Hooter, they assume that this is a great horned owl that's come to eat their babies, and they try to drive him away by diving at him. When they dive at him, they hit a very fine net that's put up right above Hooter. And that's how we capture them, for marking and banding and putting transmitters on. Sometimes I just envision that he's just kind of going every time one gets caught.
Radio transmitters in place, Woodbridge releases the hawks.
Oh, look at that.
Bayshard tracks them from his computer at Boise State University in Idaho.
I suspect that they could be stopping there, and there's plenty of opportunity for them to be eating grasshoppers or dragonflies or, some type of an insect.
The idea works. The radioed hawks make it to Argentina, where Woodbridge goes to track them in person.
After several days of driving around in the vicinity where our satellite radioed bird was, according to the data, we finally came across our first large flock of Swainson's hawks. And it was about 2,000 birds.
There they are. Oh my God.
We were ecstatic.
Oh, they're doing it again.
Yeah, they're booking.
In North America, where the hawks breed, wildlife biologists only see the occasional pair of Swainsons every 10 or 15 miles. But in Argentina, they swarm by the thousands. But Woodbridge's amazement turns to horror when he finds more than 700 dead hawks on the farm of Agustin Lanusse.
Caminando, se morían en los costados de la ruta. Algunos.
And they would
Muchos
fall
vinieron a-
dead on the sides of the road. Many of them managed to come to the roost, and they would fall dead.
The news shocks his friend in North America.
Immediately that alarmed all of us that have studied the bird for any length of time.
Woodbridge returns from Argentina with video footage of enormous flocks of Swainsons. But he also brings these grim pictures. As the news spreads among his colleagues, the alarm spreads. How many more hawks will die? Is it an isolated incident or the beginning of the end for the Swainson's hawk? Answers needed before the next great migration to Argentina. The fact that the hawks flock together in such large numbers in South America makes them much more vulnerable to large killings. The following year, Brian Woodbridge and Bayshard decide to track more than just 2 Swainson's hawks to Argentina. And instead of tracking just California birds, they put radios on birds from different regions of North America. Again, the hawks arrive in the Pampas. This time, a team of wildlife detectives gathers in Argentina, including Bayshard and toxicology expert Michael Goldstein. Their base camp, the farm of Agustin Lanusse. Farmers around the world use chemicals to protect their crops. Many Pampas farmers use a pesticide called monocrotophos to control grasshoppers. Made and sold by a multinational company called Novartis, many countries ban its use because it can kill species other than pests. While Argentina banned the use of the pesticide to control grasshoppers in 1969, it remains legal for other uses.
So we go down and we find them in La Pampa by the thousands, expecting though to see birds dying all the time. And we drove, I don't know, 4,000 kilometers, I think, that year, searching for cases where Swainson's hawks were being killed by monocrotophos, and found nothing. We went home thinking, well, maybe this isn't a problem. Maybe it was just one incident that happened the year previous. But then we got a phone call. I was sitting in my office, and Agustin Lanusse called me up and said, "Mark, we've got a problem. We've got dead birds."
This time the killer strikes thousands, and no one knows how many thousands of Swainsons. Woodbridge and Michael Goldstein race back to Argentina. They find 4,000 dead hawks.
I have never in my life seen, nor do I ever want to see, the intensity of the mortality that we saw at this time, of which all of us shed tears during this evaluation.
4,000 dead hawks immediately get international attention. How could so many birds die in one place?
Entonces hemos estructurado un monitoreo que va a tener distintas facetas.
Theories about the mass killings circulate among wildlife biologists and pesticide manufacturers throughout the Western Hemisphere. Was the problem monocrotophos or some other agent? If it was monocrotophos, how and where did the birds contact it? Were they affected by pesticides in Canada or the United States and too weak to survive in Argentina? A lot of theories, but not a lot of answers. The story makes headlines in Canada, the United States, and Argentina. The pressure to find answers before more morbid pictures appear in the media escalates. While Argentina has a wildlife disaster at hand, it has no wildlife monitoring system in place. The task falls to INTA, Argentina's National Institute of Agricultural Technology. With help from the Canadian Wildlife Service, the United States Department of Agriculture's Forest Service, and other wildlife agencies, an international task force of wildlife detectives mobilizes. INTA sends investigators, including Jose Sarasola, into the field to learn more about how farmers use pesticides and how they deal with wildlife.
The only bird that's really a nuisance now is the parrot. They go to the sorghum and cornfields. That's where they have their roosts.
There may be a bit of a tradition of using monocrotophos. You know, it's worked for me for 3 years. Why should I switch? Because right now, the pesticide market is driving what they're using. Not so much information from the government saying, look, this only works so-so, but it kills every bird for 10 miles.
Sarasola and INTA investigators find that more than half of the farmers apply monocrotophos incorrectly. They use it to kill grasshoppers, still illegal, yet still in practice.
Let's see if we can find some pellets from the hawks.
These wildlife detectives work the fields and the science.
These are the parts of insects that they couldn't digest.
They gather evidence under the trees where the birds stay at night. They take feather and blood samples of live and dead birds. Everyone working the case suspects the killer is monocrotophos. But biologists decide to test the samples one last time. They test the samples in separate labs, with some of the samples going directly to Novartis. The tests confirm monocrotophos as the killer. So they know the killer. Now what? Monocrotophos still exists in unknown quantities in unknown barns. How can anyone in an area as vast as the Pampas stop someone from using it when the grasshopper lurks among the crops? The Argentine government unleashes a major media campaign to educate farmers about the dangers of monocrotophos.
Alimentándose de tucuras.
El uso de plaguicidas no autorizados.
En una situación de emergencia como fue la del último verano.
Ubicaría al aguilucho langostero.
Novartis starts to buy back from the farmers their supplies of the pesticide and agrees to stop selling it in certain areas. The Argentine government further restricts its use.
After the analyses were done on those samples that we brought back from Argentina, that was really the icing on the cake. That's when Novartis had to come around and recognize that they had a problem.
As the Swainson stay in Argentina for the year ends and they begin their journey north, everyone holds their breath. What will happen next year? Will the campaign to educate the farmers work? Or will farmers call on monocrotophos to again battle the grasshopper? Summer in Argentina. Agustin Lanuse works his fields, and so do the Swainsons. Jose Sarasola and other INTA investigators once again survey farmers. This time, they find only 2% of the farmers using monocrotophos incorrectly. Investigators find only 24 dead hawks, virtually none in the Pampas. What began as a wildlife tragedy becomes a story of how a group of people from several countries, pesticide manufacturers, environmental groups, and farmers solved a deadly problem. Novartis, already working with the Argentine government to help educate farmers and buy back their product, agreed to a worldwide ban on monocrotophos, something that might never have happened unless a team of wildlife detectives proved that the world may be a better place without it. A hawk changed an industry. It also changed a group of people. Brian Woodbridge now knows where the Swainsons go when they leave the Butte Valley. Only time will tell if their numbers here increase. Mark Bayshard can tell his students at Boise State University much more about the hawks than he could just a few years ago. Agustin Lanusse knows he can farm his land in the Pampas and not poison Swainsons. Jose Sarasola hopes to create an organization to study raptors in Argentina. His partners, Agustin Lanusse and Mark Bayshard, two people he met only after the Swainsons began to die.
We need to realize that wildlife conservation is a global issue. It's not a country issue.
In order to be better people, we have to learn to live with less. Mother Nature would feel a lot safer, and we will feel safe too. He is trying to work in harmony with nature and these splendid birds that surround us.
It's a bird that has evolved on the face of the earth for millions and millions of years, and I think as people, I think we have a duty, an obligation to try to manage, to make sure that we don't make things like that become extinct.